Well, so technically the role is to represent my district. So every district in the state of Idaho has roughly the same number of people after redistricting. It's about 52,000 people in my district. And the job is, I believe in a representative form of government, and to do that is you need to be familiar with and understand and connect with your voters or your constituents to know what the issues are that they care about. And my job is to work on legislation, either write bills or collaborate with colleagues on bills to address the issues that they care about, that voters care about, and either to address issues that need to be improved or seize opportunities that a growing state might need. And then to vote on these bills. And the interesting thing about this whole process is that while I represent one of the smallest geographical districts in the state of Idaho, right, the heart of suburbia in West Boise, I have to vote on bills that affect every Idahoan in the state of Idaho, very rural agricultural areas as well. And so that's one of the, getting to know your colleagues from other parts of the state helps understand issues that they care about that my district may not affect my issue, like farming, for example. The last farm in my district was sold in 1999. But I have to vote on agricultural issues as well. And so it's casting votes, and it's more than just casting votes, but making sure that the reason for why I cast a vote is rooted in a principle or a critical thinking that is consistent. You're not just blowing in the wind. Right. And so forth. So anyway, so that's it's really understanding your constituency, understanding the issues, and understanding the consequences of not the title of a bill, but what's actually in the bill. And I actually wind up voting against a lot of bills with really good sounding titles that aren't so good when you read past the title. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about my district is I was the first Democrat, even though it's West Boise, I was the first Democrat elected to my district since the earth cooled. And it's a district that wound up unseating a 12-year incumbent Republican in a district that was and still is over 2-to-1 registered Republican. So it's not just being a Democrat in a Republican state, but I'm also a Democrat elected and reelected by a Republican district. And the thing that I learned from that, well, one of the reasons I was able to do that is that I've knocked on over 41,000 doors in the course of all my campaigns. I've walked every street in my district at least 3 times. And it informs you. I see the way state government affects the lives of other people in ways that it never affects me personally. And so when I look at a bill, I can reflect upon the conversations, what I've learned from my constituents, and I'll be able to identify the assumptions in a bill that may not hold true for everyone, or the unintended consequences in a bill for scenarios that the sponsor didn't consider, or the things that voters take for granted that go away, or that might go away because of a bill. And what I wind up learning is that we actually agree on most issues, whether someone's Republican or Democrat, because most of the issues that affect people's daily lives are nonpartisan issues. People want to be able to afford housing. They want to be able to make enough money to keep up with the cost of living or raise a family. They want infrastructure that works, and you don't have to, so you can, on a partisan, it doesn't matter who's president of the United States, you're not going to get down Eagle Road any faster. So you want to make sure you're having health care. You can't pursue life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness without health care. It's essential. And you want to make sure we can have access to public lands. One of the reasons we put up with living in the city or the suburbs is so we can get out into the wilderness. Well, when you go out there and you see no trespassing signs everywhere because out-of-state billionaires have bought up hundreds of square miles, and then the legislature writes laws that make, no trespassing laws that protect, allows them to put gates on roads that can get you to your public lands. These are the things that people care. And this is nonpartisan stuff. And you see that we wind up having more in common when you really separate from all the political rancor. And when you have that one-on-one conversation with people, they can vote for the person. And you can wind up representing them as a fellow person and not a Republican versus a Democrat, which it's getting to the point you can't even assume what an R or a D even stands for these days. So in a two-party system, you have to make a choice. I don't think an independent candidate has ever won a legislative race in Idaho, certainly in recallable memory. So the question is, when you choose, why you choose to be, if I wanted to make life easy for myself, I suppose I could run as a Republican in a Republican district. But the reason I chose to run locally as the Idaho Democratic Party candidate is because I'm a businessman. And as a businessman, I look at results and outcomes. And I just can't align myself with any group of people who've controlled 80% of the legislature for 30 years and have led Idaho to be nearly last in education investment, one of the lowest average wages in the nation, and yet property tax, gas tax, grocery tax, fees, and rents keep on going up. And so the label that I put on myself that I think identifies my philosophy and my approach to governance is, I think best describes me as a person.